You see, you and I today, before Christ, we were separated from God without hope. We had no hope. And we were stuck in this prison. We had no way to get out of it. It was like a spiritual quicksand. No matter what you do, you keep just sinking. No matter what you do, you have no ability to get yourself out of it because you're stuck. No hope at all. No way to get yourself off that spiritual quicksand. I was reading a book this was years ago, by Tom Rath, the Gallup poll guy. The book was entitled, How Full Is Your Bucket? And he was talking about, words and the power of words. And he gave a story about Dr. Mayer, who was a U.S. Army psychiatrist. And he studied about 1,000 prisoners of war of the U.S. Army who were prisoners in the camps in North Korea. And it was interesting because he said there was a phenomenon, he called it merasmus, right? It was a phenomenon where you would see American soldiers, even though they did not have physical abuse, they didn't go through physical abuse or torture or any of that sort, hundreds would die in the North Korean prison camps. In fact, how they would die sometimes is they would go into their huts, they'd get a blanket, cover themselves up, and in 2 days they were dead. It's like, they were trying to figure out what was up with that. And so Dr. Mayer surveyed about 1,000 American prisoners of war, and this is what he found out. Among many others, there was one major thing that the North Korean prison camps did. Whenever the American soldiers would receive a letter, and if it was positive, it was withheld. Meaning, if it was a letter from mom, son, we're waiting for you, we're cheering for you back here at home. Or, from a wife, we're waiting for you, we can't wait for you to come home, we're excited, this is a picture of your baby, our baby. And so they would withhold this letter. But if it was a negative letter, like, I can't wait for you any longer, I'm going to divorce you, I found another guy, then they would immediately give this letter. It came to a point that the American soldiers were so hopeless, the merasmus, meaning the lack of resistance, or others would call it give up-itis. It's like it was a point where I'll just give up. There was no hope. There's nothing to look forward to. I'll just curl up and die. That's what happened. Without hope, it's impossible to live life. And so that's what Paul was saying. You and I, both the Jews and the Gentiles, there was really no hope. And how do you live life without hope? It's virtually impossible. And then in verse 13, this is what he says. But now. Everybody say, but now. Okay, from then, you were this, and this. He lists down 5. He says, but now in Christ Jesus, you who were far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. What a contrast. You were, but now. Past, present. Right? You see, let me stop here and say this. Some of us here, the enemy wants you to get stuck in your past. He wants you to stay stuck in your past, that it's kind of like a prison. You're in your prison cell. The door is open because Jesus Christ died on the cross and He has given you a way out, but you're standing there not moving. The devil wants you to stay in your prison. Prison of bitterness, prison of rebellion, prison of sinfulness, prison of unforgiveness, prison of immorality. You're stuck there. You're not able to move forward. For some reason, the devil wants you to stay there and to get stuck there. You were. But now. That's what he's saying here. You were separated. But now you've been made free. You are now connected with Christ. You were without hope, but now this is who you are. Jesus is the game changer.